Hi everyone, welcome back. We are back again with our MRSI Wednesday webinar. We are in our 8th session and we are very excited for today's webinar. Today's topic is IPL Advertising, Impact, Evolution, Opportunity. How brands are playing the IPL game across TV, digital, and on ground. IPL is not just cricket anymore. It has become one of the biggest event of the year for advertising. Every brand wants to be seen on TV, on digital platforms, and even at the stadium. In this session, we'll look at how brands are using IPL in smart ways to reach people and how audiences are watching and reacting differently to it. We'll talk about what's working well, what's changing, and where new chances are coming up for brands and advertisers. Let us get ready for an exciting and insightful session and to see how the IPL game is being played not just on the field but in the world of advertising too. Next slide, Sandeep. Before we go into the webinar, a quick note on MRSI. Market Research Society of India is a unique not-for-profit association of both providers and buyers of research and insight. MRSI aims to create awareness of the industry among general public as well as the government. It strives to establish and promote professional standards for the industry, and MRSI provides a platform for market researchers and engage and showcase their work and collaborate on common issues. The MRSI Wednesday webinar is a key initiative to address these goals. The webinar is conducted monthly once, typically on the 3rd or 4th Wednesday from 1 to 2 p.m. Indian Standard Time. Next slide. A quick introduction to the MRSI Wednesday webinar organizing panel. We have Amitabh Mishra, Insights Analytics India, Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, Sundar Muthuraman, Independent Consultant Marketing Measurement, Mukul Gautam, Independent Consultant, and myself, Shivakumar Somanathan, Consumer Behavior Consultant with Curious Cat Consulting. Next slide. Next slide, please, Sandeep. Yeah. And here are our esteemed speakers for the day. Sandeep Ranade, Executive Vice President, Head, Quantitative Research Division, Hansa Research Group. Sandeep has more than 25 years of experience in market research with strong knowledge across FMCG, telecom, and media sectors. He has worked on both the client and agency sides, helping brands solve business problems through 3P insights and smart strategies. Welcome, Sandeep. And then we have Karthik Shankar, a Digital Investments GroupM. And Karthik has over 15 years of experience in digital advertising and has helped build and grow business across Southeast Asia and Middle East. He is an expert in programmatic advertising and connected TV platforms and helps brands use technology to reach and engage with the right audience. Welcome, Karthik. And then we have Anshu, Yardi, Vice President, Business Partnership and Communication at TAM Media Research. Anshu has spent more than 10 years at TAM and brings strong knowledge in media insights and strategic partnerships. She has played a key role in building strong business connections and driving new media ideas in the media research world. Welcome, Anshu. And we have Deepa Mathew, Chief Insights and Digital Marketing Officer, CEAT. Deepa brings rich experience in insights, digital marketing, and brand strategy. She has held leadership roles at CEAT, Star TV Network, Kantar, IMRB, and Pfizer. Her work spans across new product development, syndicated research, and strategic consulting, making her a strong voice in the world of marketing. Welcome, Deepa. Thank you all for being here. Before we start the webinar, a request to the audience, please share your questions to the speaker in the question window provided. You can post the questions to a specific speaker or the panel at large. The speakers will be happy to answer them at the final part of the webinar. Next slide, please. First, I would like to invite Anshu from TAM Media Research. Anshu will share her views on how IPL advertising is changing and what brands need to keep in mind in this fast-moving space. Over to you, Anshu.
Thank you so much, Shiva. Good afternoon, everybody. The topic for today's session is IPL advertising and its evolution, and we would like to go straight into the details. We can go on to the next slide. So I would like to essentially introduce how we work on sports as an arena. TAM Sports is a part of TAM Media Research. We have been in this business since last 15 years. And not just sports, we also monitor non-sports and hence work with production houses, broadcasters, etc. on reality shows, brand integration everywhere that becomes sports and non-sports, can be leagues, reality shows, movies, and tournaments. It is across platforms. So we have linear TV, digital OTT, CTV platforms. And the sponsorship and branding analysis is also across multiple platforms. For example, on-screen in Stadia, virtual placements and integrations that keep on happening nowadays. And the data also becomes a real-time report where you have FCT, NFCT, and in-stadia reports divided between platforms as required. We can move on. Based on this, since the topic is IPL, we will only cover what has been in IPL throughout the last few years. And the pandemic being one of an important measure on how sponsorship is understood pre and post pandemic, we've kind of created an analysis that can help us understand the evolution pre after the pandemic has happened. So in the last 5 seasons, we've seen a shifting game. When we only see the linear TV, we understand that the total ad volumes on linear TV as such has not recovered completely after COVID. The FCT shows, which is pure ad commercial, fixed commercial time, shows a 24% drop. And while in 2019, we saw dominating sectors like telecom and auto and durables that gave way to categories like BFSI, food and beverages, with a 9 times and a 28% ad growth respectively in 2024 on on-screen, digitally embedded, or NFCT that is usually spoken about in media circles. If we see a 39% drop in 2024 compared to the pre-COVID levels. However, there are sectors like durables and F&B that have now given way to BFSI and auto. Next slide. Now, when we actually speak about post-COVID, since linear was supposed to be the primary medium pre-COVID, we essentially now see a change of viewing from linear to multi-screen. We have mobile OTT platforms that showcases multiple sports, and IPL, everybody knows after COVID there has been a audience increase in audiences across other screens. So when we compare advertising across screens now, in 2024, IPL 17, we saw that linear had an average of 37 hours, linear TV, mobile OTT had 48 hours, and CTV had 62 hours of advertising. This is, again, FCT measurement only, nothing related to on-ground that we're talking about on this slide. When we talk about categories, we see there are 69 on linear, while mobile OTT and CTV has 130 and 99 categories respectively. And advertisers and brands, for linear, we have 74 advertisers across 135 brands. For OTT, we have 278 advertisers who have 377 brands. And on CTV, we have 145, where we have 237 brands live. Now over here, this is unduplicated. So we will have a lot of duplication between multi-screens. However, the most important point to note over here is that while in 2019, we saw linear as the primary mode of advertising, now advertisers have multiple ways of reaching their audiences. And this is only going to increase in the coming years. Next slide. Who played the longest innings? So FMCG has remained the most consistent spender across all the 5 years. We saw EdTech and e-com that surged in 2022, but then declined in 23 and 24 for certain reasons that kind of people know. And there have been newer entries like fintech, fantasy gaming, and food delivery apps in the recent years. Auto and smartphone category, which were once on top, now have made a comeback post the chip shortage in 2023. So now we see a surge in their advertising plans also. Next slide. In TAM Sports, or rather at TAM Sports, how we segregate the data is on-ground players, accessories, others. Now we've already seen how FCT and NFCT work, but it will be only half the story if we don't see how on-ground has also fared. Next slide. So when we see in-stereo advertising across the last 5 years, we compare pre-COVID and post-COVID, there have been certain categories that are common. We are only looking at top 10 here because the list of categories is humongous. But only in the top 10 also, the changes have been very visible. So when you see in 2019, there have been e-commerce sites, multiple e-commerce sites, and there is retail outlets, etc. While in 2024, you see quite newer categories coming in other than the 5 that are common. You have e-com other service, the Tata New kind of cards that don't go into any other standard category. There are ATM services, debit cards, which were not there in the top 10 in 2019. And there are pipes, PVC fittings, and furniture related items, which again are a newer entry in the top 10 during IPL 24. When you look at the top in-stadia brands, there are again certain common elements over here. Tata has been there with every new variant in each of these years. However, there have been other newer in-stereo brands that are now on top. We have RuPay, we have Angel One. So BFSI category and similar categories have now actually been a part of this. We also see My 11 Circle that has come up, and Dream 11, which has lost the rank in 2024. Next slide. So the three key changes, if I need to summarize it since 2019, one is ad format innovation. We saw that TVCs dominated pre-COVID, mostly standard formats. Now there is a surge in interactive, contextual, and QR-driven formats, especially on CTV and mobile. There is an increase in share of 10-second creatives, so shorter format of creatives, and non-traditional formats year on year since 2021. The shift from reach to ROI. If we look at how IPL was usually seen earlier, it was primarily for massive brand awareness. Now IPL is used as a performance marketing order, where you have IPL specific offers, you have influencer tie-ins, you have QR codes, and there is real-time attribution to your media activity. More advertisers are now tying IPL campaigns to measurable KPIs like install, clicks, visits, sale, etc. There is a regional and multilingual customization also that has happened. Earlier, we saw mostly Hindi and English ads. Now we see heavy use of regional creative. So even the same creative is in different languages across markets. There are geo-targeted versions of CTV and mobile, and there is increasing use of regional languages, Tamil, Telugu, and Marathi campaigns since 2022. Next slide. So in the end, I would essentially like to conclude by saying that in 2025, IPL is not only a media event, it has become a performance movement. And what now? What next in IPL League? So the event will possibly move from mass reach to strategic multi-channel activations. There's going to be a rise of programmatic CTV for IPL streaming, AI-generated ad creatives and regional customization. There will be an increased demand of real-time logo detection and sponsorship ROI tools, and there will be a focus on viewability across multi-screen environments. So this is from my end. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Anshu, for that interesting presentation. It's fascinating to see how IPL advertising has evolved over the years into a performance moment. And we have a lot of questions to you, and but we'll come back to you at the end of the webinar. And the listeners, please do type in your questions in the Q question window. Next slide. Okay. Now I'd like to invite Karthik from GroupM. Karthik will speak about how about a very important topic, IPL's impact on driving sales and outcomes, especially on the digital platforms, and what brands can do to improve the IPL spends. Over to you, Karthik.
Thank you so much, Shiva, on this. If you can go to the next slide, please. I think while very beautifully covered by Anshu on various touch points, right? We would want to kind of go into understanding why this is a very mass phenomenon, and we've been publishing the GroupM ESP report, or the sports report as we call it, for a lot of I think this is the 13th year in consecutive, and we've been tracking this very closely, and the impact of it across the ecosystem on advertising and overall in itself, right? So like you rightly said, and the way Anshu had pointed out, it is evolved into a much bigger ecosystem, having its wings across on ground TV, digital getting even more complex in driving multiple capabilities. While what you're able to see on the left hand side is basically how digital has been massively scaling from an advertising standpoint, and how more depth, capability, and possibilities are being explored by the platforms which are able to drive this across. And if you really see, sporting cricket as an ecosystem drives roughly about 94% of the total share in this space, which has a very large impact, right? And to the right, what you're able to see is the years from which we've been able to track across. So what I've been able to come across and showcase to you is right from 2022 to 2024, how the shift has really happened, and how the game continues to be dominated by cricket in all spectrum. If you go to the next slide, please. And IPL being one of the key pieces on it. Just to put things in perspective, you're able to see, I would want to take your attention to the bottom right, where the kind of money that has been pumped into IPL is no less than the topmost in the world, right? And it actually ranks the number 2 in terms of the kind of volumes and money that it drives. It also has, and therefore if you look at cricketing as an event and sports as an event, actually contributes to 0.9% of our total economy and GDP. While from a viewership's standpoint, right, from specifically if you talk about digital, it has gone from 102 million to a 620 million as a huge cumulative viewership that it is able to garner from 2008 to 2024, and 25 might actually breach into 700 to 800. And the allied capabilities across how IPL has been able to manage to garner the kind of strength and capability is definitely discussed on. If we can move to the next slide, please. While we talk about this, we also kind of, like Anshu talked about, there are various ecosystem touch points, right, from on-ground sponsorship to team sponsorship to franchisee and so on and so forth. What you're able to see on the right-hand side is the ecosystem in itself that develops, while IPL as a core has a lot of other teams which are kind of coming into take much larger shape, right? So there are going to be association opportunities. There are conversations from social, their viewership, right from even the auction process itself has started getting a lot more attention from the consumers in terms of what the teams needs to be look like and who's buying what, and therefore a lot of conversation around how IPL has become really massive, right? So that's what this report talks about. If you can go to the next slide, please. Some fun facts. I thought I'll induce a little bit of humor and what is really driving it across, right? When I was going through a lot of interesting insights about IPL, I found this. There was a gentleman in Krishnagiri who actually watched it for 15 days straight, right? He was just continuing to stream various parts of it. So that's a huge impact across. 85% of the matches have at least 10 crore plus people tuning in as viewership. The multicam mode, which kind of started in 22-23, has garnered at least 4 crores in each of the cam modules, and there are 69% of users actually watch on their home language even when they are outside of their home state. And the kind of prices and the participation and engagement that has taken in that Jito concept has been really massive, and the social conversations like the stickers and other things have got actually a crore of users using it, and Dhoni being one of the most unloved kind of fan on this. So in this entire IPL conversation, what really triggers a lot of insights and enthusiasm is ideally the research that we've been able to do with consumer AI was that about the team, the tournament, and the kind of competition that is going to be looking at. There also a lot of performance and player level critiques, as well as the rivalry between different teams, be it CSK, RCB, or Mumbai Indians versus an RCB kind of a situation, and the team dynamics on how what needs to be played and so on and so forth. If you can move to the next slide, please. Here, what you're able to see is a quick way of seeing how IPL has shaped from a viewership standpoint, the peak concurrency. I think there are some places that we've not able to, I think 22 is something that we've not been able to validate at various levels, but take that number with a pinch of salt. But I think it has been soaring from a peak concurrency standpoint. There are a lot of people watching it across, and potentially the scale that it can garner. Over and above that, the platforms that been hosting and streaming this has also evolved, right? From the brand or association opportunities to capabilities that they've been able to build, right? I've just kind of listed on a few interesting ones that people can quickly rely on. We've seen enormous amount of tech capabilities, both from an infrastructure standpoint, from innovation standpoint, as well as from giving brands the control to kind of buy the way and the kind of customization that they can look at. While we can go deep into each of these, I would just wanted to kind of leave it at the moment for you guys to kind of understand. And back in the day, you would ideally have a very restrictive set of ways of buying, right, and units to buy. And I think now with multiple devices, the capability of tech infrastructure and the innovation in content as well as the feeds it has exploded in the kind of opportunities that one can really look at associating with IPL on. If you can go to the next slide, please. Therefore, how does it really impact? So there are few fundamental questions a brand always ends up mulling over at multiple points, right? Can this really create impact? Impact is fine, but what does it do to my business, right? And is it worth in terms of from a brand safety and other areas that a brand would want to kind of guard their position against? And can it actually have a lot more engagement and entertainment where the brand can come in and position themselves? So these are probably the areas that we might just end up covering and answering that. If you can go to the next slide, please. What we've observed is that this is a very interesting insight that we're kind of participating to see whether how it is really impacting the overall effectiveness of user. While we know that we're constantly distracted with multiple social media tools to a lot of other time that we spend on internet. Clearly, I think in this, both from a memorability as well as brand disposition index, the live sports have really captured the intent and the attention of the audiences in a beautiful way. And I think right from the delivery of campaigns as well as from the ability for them to interact with the game, participate in conversation, also do much more has been great. And I think we've been we are participating with GeoStar in running these capability studies for our brands. If you can go to the next slide, please. What is also delivered is that in many cases we've been able to build very bespoke solutions, right from content engagement to influencer-led opportunity to ability to integrate and potentially drive sale for the capability for the brands, as well as look at even hyperlocal targeting for many of the possible areas for brands that we've been associated with, which ideally gives them an extremely brand safe environment, ability for them to measure and more, ability to drive pure outcome led capabilities like Anshu had mentioned, and also about ability for them to nudge the consideration of the brand in many use cases. So if you can go to the next slide, please. Not only that, I think what we've been able to drive in specific is first party data collection, as well as in many cases targeting bespoke targeting that has not been done before by these platforms. We've been actually working with them in creating and crafting innovative areas that we've been able to look at, like GroupM and Hotstar has combined to kind of work close to 400 to 500 different unique ideas across 15 to 18 categories, where and each idea can actually have an impact in terms of driving efficiency and scale and outcome for the brands, right? And we have done this across multiple sets of brands. And I think you will, if you can go to the next slide, please. Right, I think you will be able to see a lot of our brands being listed and being able to kind of deliver amazing and innovative experiences across. And I think that's a place that we would ideally want to scale and innovate. And I think the way we are able to craft one of the parting thoughts that I want to leave you guys is with the way the platforms have scaled and the platforms have been listening in to understand and create bespoke solution, as well as able to make the tech work for the brands to deliver the outcomes, has been really impactful. And I think there's a great journey that we're all in it beyond this. So thanks, Shiva, for this opportunity.
Thank you, Karthik, for that engaging presentation. It was interesting to see how brands are using innovative ways to reach the IPL audience impactfully. We'll connect with you at the final part of the session with questions. And a gentle reminder to the audience, please do share your questions in the questions window. And I would like to invite Sandeep from Hansa Research Group. Sandeep will share interesting findings about where people watch IPL and the impact of IPL advertising on them from HRG's syndicated tracker IPL Mania. Over to you, Sandeep.
Thank you, Shiva. Hi, everyone. I think both Anshu and Karthik did establish that IPL has grown and is an ecosystem in itself. And there are lots of touch points, opportunities for brands and advertisers to come and advertise. If you can move to the next slide, please. What I'm going to talk to you about is the consumer or the viewer angle to it to take it to the other side. So we conduct, as Shiva mentioned, a syndicated tracker very quickly. It's conducted online with over 20,000 respondents pre, during, and post IPL, covering metros and even tier 2 cities and covering about 40 categories. What we try to find out is, are the consumers able to recall the brands which are advertising? Do these brands see any uplift? So Anshu did talk about performance marketing in terms of clicks, in terms of visits, but here we are talking about, are the consumers able to recall the brand, and do the brands see uplift because of their campaigns in IPL? Also, which property gives more visibility, which is what Karthik was talking about in terms of team sponsorships or in terms of being on player assets on ground, etc., right? Or which team or which player are consumers preferring or are their favorites? So to talk about it, if we can move to the next slide. So what I'll cover very quickly is, I think again Anshu did mention about lots of brands being present more on CTV and OTT than linear TV. So from a viewer point, where are they watching IPL, right? That's one. Are the brands seeing uplift where they are on a single media, or how is the uplift when the brands are present on multiple media? We saw a lot of new categories coming into IPL over the years. So if we look at categories which are not targeted at the core IPL audience, which is say the male TG, if we talk in terms of demographic terms, what is the uplift these categories see for the kind of spends they do there? And in terms of some dynamics on favorite team, favorite player, again, brands will be looking at finding out any celebrities to take on to their brand based on whether the player fits their brand, or any emerging player that is coming out to be able to associate with. So let's see some of these data. Can we go to the next slide, please? I think here we are looking at 22 and 24, but what we are seeing is more and more people are watching the matches both on TV and OTT, and only TV going down. And I'll connect it back to what Anshu was mentioning, right? And if you move to the next slide, please. Also, more and more people are watching the matches on HDTV, and the connected TV viewership versus last year, which is 23 to 24, has increased 2.25 times. So now this is to bring about the fact that more and more advertisers are on OTT and connected TV. More and more people are watching it. But why are the viewers watching? Maybe the kind of experience they get, as Anshu was talking now, you can see the commentary on 10 different languages on OTT, right? On a mobile or on CTV, right? You can also watch the match through various camera angles. Is this kind of engagement making people, plus the experience of watching the game than just watching the game, going more towards OTT and HDT, is making the players or the viewers come to see the matches more on connected TV and OTT. If we move to the next slide, please. Now talking about the uplift. Now just to explain the numbers here, if you look at the first one, what we are seeing is 100 is brands who had advertised only on TV, right? If their uplift, say in terms of awareness, has been 100, if the brands would have added one more medium, say TV on ground or TV or digital, or two mediums, the brands would have seen at least a 35 or 50% greater uplift than advertising just on TV. So that's one point coming in. Again, going back to the number of options available, how does a brand spread their monies and advertise across the different possible options available to advertise on IPL? And the fact which Anshu was saying, that linear TV is going down. If brands are going beyond the media, they are seeing a greater uplift. Now the question will be, which of these on-ground boundary player assets works well. If TV digital understood, but which of these are better for as a brand? If you move to the next slide, please. What we see is most consumers or most viewers are able to recall a logo or a brand advertising on player jerseys, followed by the bat, on ground, and also the boundary row. So imagine a brand now, instead of spending only on TV or only on digital, taking a mix of these and trying to get a better uplift and a better impact or effectiveness for the money they spend. Right? If you move to the next slide, please. Now we are talking about categories which are not targeted to the TG, which is core IPL TG. So say food and beverages, where the category or the brands also target the women. What we have seen that on an average, these categories, the food and beverage brands have seen an 18% uplift in their awareness. Now, is that number good, bad, or ugly? The categories like online gaming, auto, etc., which spend a lot on IPL, have been there consistently, see higher uplifts than this. But for the kind of spends these categories are doing, 18% is a very good uplift. And just to add on, this 18% is on the TG for these categories and not the IPL core TG. So even on an IPL, a non-IPL TG or non-mail TG category is seeing a good 18% uplift. And for the kind of spends they are doing, I think it is effective. And we will see more categories coming in as the time goes on. If we move to the next slide, the same applies for fashion brands. It is in their TG, average 16% uplift on awareness in the last IPL. For this IPL, we have 3 weeks of data. So not sharing any data from 2025 here, but we will have the data by the end of IPL 18 getting completed. If you move to the next slide, even the footwear brands are saying 24% uplift in their awareness. So these are significant numbers for the kind of spends these categories are doing compared to the categories which have been with IPL or which are known to be with IPL for a long time. So that's another thing. So which media do I advertise to? Even if I am targeting a TG which is not core IPL TG, what kind of uplifts a brand or a category is getting? Now comes the fact that if the brand is now trying to look at a celebrity to be associated with, what has been the trend over the years? And here I will try and bring in some data. If you can move to the next slide, please, which is from this year's first 3 weeks of 2025 IPL. So what we see over the years is Chennai, RCB and Mumbai Indians have been the top teams. This year, the only difference we have seen in the first 3 weeks, and again, the entire tournament yet has to go, RCB has edged Chennai Super Kings to become the most favorite team by a very small margin. Mumbai Indian remains there. So there is a change in terms of the favorite team. But we have seen that in the smaller or non-metro towns, there is better performance of teams like Rajasthan Royals, Punjab Kings, Lucknow Super Giants and Gujarat Titans as being the favorite team. So there is a difference in terms of people's favorite by metros and non-metros. And this is just the data from the first 3 weeks. If we move to the next slide, we also see that Mr. Dhoni, who was the favorite player for last couple of years, I think this year Virat has edged him again first 3 weeks of data by a small margin to become the most favorite player. Again, these 3 that you see on the slide, their scores or their performance is driven by metros. Players like Shubman Gill, Rahul and Ravindra Jadeja are the ones who get more or better performance in terms of being favorites in the non-metros. The other point that I wanted to add here, Shiva, just 1 second, is there are a lot of emerging players. So we have seen in this IPL Abhishek Sharma coming out as an emerging player. Again, this is for advertisers to see which player or which celebrity do I associate with in future. But we have seen players like Vaibhav Suryavanshi and even Ayush Mahatre making their debut after the 3 weeks. So let's see at the end of IPL how this changes and how does it help advertisers to take on any association from the cricket team in India. So that's what I wanted to talk about. how people are seeing the tournament, what is the kind of uplift the brands or categories are getting, and how the player dynamics impacts advertiser in terms of their associations. Thank you, Shiva. Over to you.
Thank you, Sandeep, for this informative presentation. It was nice to see my favorite team CSK still there in the top three. And it was interesting to note that the reach of IPL advertising is not restricted only to its core audience. It's going beyond the core audience also. And listeners, please do type in your questions in the question window. Next slide, please. Finally, I would like to invite Deepa from CEAT. Deepa will share a brand side perspective on how marketers are making the most of the IPL platform and media formats and consumer touchpoints. Over to you, Deepa.
Thank you, Shiva. Hi, everyone. So when I joined CEAT, around 6 years back from Disney Star, and I came home and I was telling my nieces and nephew, that I've joined CEAT. And my 5-year-old niece was, trying to figure out, what is CEAT, what does it do? And my, 6-year-old nephew immediately chimed out, CEAT strategic timeout, Rohit Sharma. And that's when I knew that, CEAT is not just about a tire brand. It's so synonymous with cricket. And what I will be talking to you today is about, how brands leverage Tata IPL for the brand metrics, and how it's not just an investment, but rather a tool of engagement with which brands engage with. If you can move to the next slide, please. So for us at CEAT, cricket has been kind of like a property which we have built more than over 25 years. It has been a labor of both love and dedication. We are present across multiple formats of cricket. We started in 1995 with the CEAT cricket rating, which was the pioneer in the comprehensive rating of cricketers in the country. In 2015 was when we started an association with the Tata IPL. Back in time, it was it was, I think, Pepsi IPL. And 2015, we also signed on board Rohit Sharma as a brand ambassador. Sandeep had mentioned about the importance of influencers and how Rohit has been performing. So when we look at all of these assets that we have, we find that we could leverage all of these properties to a very, very good level. For example, a strong player like Rohit, the more he is out on the field, the more visible our brand is because it's on the bat of Rohit Sharma. So that's a very, very strong presence that we have in the world of cricket. And our aim is to continue this legacy going forward, because this consistency over the year has helped us build a very, very, powerful cut through in the whole ecosystem. If you can move to the next slide, please. So when I talked about what's in it for a brand, first and foremost, because we kind of like sponsor the strategic timeout. We own the kind of break which most of the nation awaits for. And why is it important, especially for a brand like ours, which is a very low involvement category? I mean, people don't really think about tires every day in their lives. They Unlike an FMCG or a durable, tires are thought of only when you have a problem with your tire and you want to go and exchange your tire or buy a new tire for your vehicle. So how it helps us is that being visible on ground, being visible with all the properties, it becomes very important for the consumer to walk in when he's going to a shop to buy a tire with a brand already in mind. And that's what advertising in Tata IPL and that's what advertising on ground does for us. And that's one of the core areas which we leverage upon. So if you look at the column in terms of what it does for the brand, it's because it gives us a very, very massive reach. There are millions watching the, both Anshu, Karthik and Sandeep have talked about the massive reach which it has on multiple platforms. We get a very, very high recall, which is completely unadulterated and distraction free. It's a prime time spotlight. And we have visibility on multiple platforms. You can, with the strategic timeout board, which is an in-property asset, you also get to see it on TV, OTT, stadium screens. And of course, we're also present on a social media with multiple integrations. It's also becomes a match lingo. When you say timeout, it's not just it's not just strategic timeout. It's CEAT strategic timeout. So there's a brand cue, and it has become very, very synonymous with the brand. All of this, essentially, even when we don't advertise, we have seen that just the sheer presence on ground makes people think that we have advertised. It's a very, very high ad recall. And when we do that, we see a very, very significant jump in our brand awareness. And if you can just go to the next one, yeah. So if you see below, this is how we also use our strategic timeout on ground. It acts as a window to the brand. So at different matches, we can put up our product integrations on the board, and it acts like an advertisement where there's a very, very high recall about a brand, and consumers know about a brand, and it's always there as a salient brand in the minds of the consumer. Next slide, please. So the second point, Ashu had touched upon this, where she mentioned that people are going beyond awareness into other metrics, and that's what's happening now in the shift which has happened with how we engage with the CS strategic timeout. So every timeout opportunity is an opportunity for a touch point for us. Next one, please. So what it does is when we engage with the cricket or with the CEAT strategic timeout, it gives us a lot of virality, innovation, and engagement. What I mean by that is, more than an advertisement, it's actually building a ritual. So the timeout board has become kind of like a stage. It allows us to create custom content, and our viewers, our consumers, our fans wait for the trivia, the memes, the magic that we spin out on social media and on the STO board. Ashu had touched upon, QR codes in advertising. We have actually used QR codes on the STO board in the field, and we find that fans engage with it by scanning it. We run contests online, and again, fans don't just watch; they play along with us. So all of these campaigns give us a lot of virality. They give us a lot of fan love, and it also gets so the screen, the one you see on the screen right now, was the QR code that we had put up on the strategic timeout. So when a consumer or someone in the stadium or on TV scans the QR code, they reach a website and they can engage with the brand on a website, and we can actually have a new measure. We can actually measure curiosity. We can measure engagement by the time the viewer clicks on it, the kind of visits that we're getting on our website, and the kind of leads that they drop in. So it beyond advertisement or beyond top of the funnel, it has also helped impact performance marketing at the bottom of the funnel. It creates a lot of virality, like I mentioned. If you click next, Sandesh, please. Yeah. So it gets talked about a lot. Sorry, the earlier slide. If you can just go back. Yeah. So it gets talked about a lot in media. It gets shared a lot. That's when I meant, when consumers engage with it, they talk about it. And there is a massive jump in terms of the brand affinity. So it's not just a recall, but also the emotional connect which we develop with the brand. And it's not just about sponsoring the break. We kind of make it unforgettable. Now, the next slide, I would just like you to, watch it, enjoy it. I don't think the sound is playing over here, but you can imagine, what it is. And I'll tell you a little bit about it, once you've watched it. Sorry, there was no sound to it, but you could see the same post on a social media account on Instagram, Twitter, etc. So these are content which we developed using CGI or computer generated imagery. When you watch it along with sound, you will see that they're very real life. When we did the right hand one, where we had shown the CS strategic timeout coming out of a building, we actually had the BMC come to our office to inquire how we managed to do it on top of a building. So that's the kind of the shares it had got, the kind of interest it had generated, and it got people talking about it. So in a sum, if I have to kind of like sum it all up, there, what does the game get for us? It gives us product spotlight. We can talk about the products. It gives us ROI in terms of commerce. There's a movement from getting people to engage with the posts, from getting people to scan the QR code to actually dropping leads on a website. There's a lot of social buzz that is created, and all of this activated in just 150 seconds of undivided attention that we get. So strategic timeout for us is equal to strategic impact for the brand. So that's where I leave you with, and happy to take on any questions afterwards.
Shiva, are not able
I
to
can't
hear you.
hear you.
Sorry. Okay. And it was interesting to note how CEAT has used IPL advertising to go viral. And a quick reminder to the audience again, please post your questions on the window. Okay. And before we go into the Q&A session, a quick announcement. Next slide, please. We at MRFA, along with the research world, will be celebrating the International Market Research Day on 2nd of May. And we'll be having a panel discussion titled Keeping the High Ground, Being Ethical in Business is More Important Than Ever. It will involve eminent panelists, including Dr. Meena Kaushik, Chairperson, Quantum Consumer Solutions, Amit Adarkar, CEO, Ipsos, LV Krishnan, co-founder Media Research, and Siddharth Nangia, co-founder. And it will be moderated by our own Tali Chavan, Director General MRSA. And please do be in touch with the MRSA social media channels for further updates on this one. Next slide, please. And please do mark your calendars for the 33rd MRSA Annual Research Seminar 2025. And this time we will be in Gurgaon, NCR, and it will be on 11th and 12th of September this year. And we hope to see you all. Next slide, please. And now it's time for the Q&A. And first we'll start with a question from audience. The question from Yash Bhatia. With the marquee players like MS Dhoni retiring, do you think this could have an impact on the IPL sponsorships? Okay. Any of the panelists can answer this one.
I'll take this. It's an interesting question because it's been doing rounds for many years now, and only MS Dhoni can tell us when he's planning to retire. But to give an answer to this question, MS Dhoni is a brand in himself, like there are many other players, and uh, if and when he retires, there will be some changes or some expected changes in viewer engagement dynamics regionally and nationally, because he's just not a regional brand, he's a national brand, an international brand. And in short term, there may be some impact on the team sponsorships or IPL sponsorship as such. But in the long term, IPL has its own structural strength as a brand, and there will be newer stars coming in to take place, and brands will be creating newer stories to target current and younger fans. So long term, it may not have a great impact.
Another question from Anushka Sengupta. What kind of ad duration are you seeing for TV ads compared to social media ads during IPL?
Okay, so my question again.
Okay.
Yeah, like I mentioned in the earlier slide, if we look at pre-COVID, there were 20, 30 seconders that were actually higher in exposures. But post-COVID, the secondary duration on FCT has gone down to about 10 seconds. Most of the ads are shorter duration because they also have to fit in quite a lot of commercial broadcasters in between the breaks. And FCT duration by itself has come down for every ad. There will be multiple exposure, but lesser duration. And social media has always been for, hitting with higher ads and shorter duration ads. So OTT CTV also has multiple exposures but shorter duration ads. Nowadays, sponsors are also coming on to non-FCT, which has again a shorter duration L-shape pushback, pull-through ads, which have a lasting. It is not cluttering your space because the match is going on and you have to keep the screen for your ad, and you do not need a specific duration commercial time to put up the ad. So these are the changes that have been seen quite recently.
Thanks, Anshu. A question to Deepa from Morgan. How do you think IPL contributes to consumer perception of CEAT as a brand, especially among younger and non-automotive audience?
Uh, like I mentioned, there are two things, with what happens with the brand. So one is it keeps the brand constantly in the minds of the consumer. For us, like I mentioned, it's a very, very uninvolved category. So what it does for the brand is, when we look at the brand tracks, which either, Kantar has their format or Nielsen has their format, they say that for a category like a salience is the most important driver for the brand. It's important to be there when the consumer is thinking about changing his tire, which could happen any point in time. So when a consumer walks into a dealer's shop, when the dealer tells us that, oh, he saw, you on the ground, he saw CEAT strategic timeout, and he came with the brand in mind. So that's very important for us, and that's what it does for the brand. It could be someone who is actually intending to change a tire at that point in time, or someone who is not intending, but it could be a long cycle, but he recalls the presence of CEAT over there and comes with a brand in mind. So that's one of the things in terms of creating salience, in terms of creating awareness, being in the moment, the moment of truth when the consumer is actually going to pick up a brand. The other thing is in terms of engagement. For again, like an uninvolved category like us, it's important for the consumer to know more about the brand. So, when we have, newer technologies like a QR code, when consumers scan it, come onto a website, they get to know more about the brand, which otherwise, it could appear maybe like a very, very technical kind of a thing, but it gives that kind of engagement in a lighthearted manner. Consumers are willing to engage with it more, and that creates an impact on the brand imagery as well as the brand visibility.
And the question to Sandeep, we spoke about the impact of IPL on the non-core audience. Is there one question what we add is there really a non-core audience with females also getting a larger share of the viewership for IPL? How is this trend changing over the years in your track?
Yeah, so we do cover both men and women at a 70-30 ratio in terms of sample. But the way I was calling it non-core, I understand it's not non-core. I think the women viewership has also increased over time. So for the kind of spends and the duration the tournament is, which is 2 months, right? So just being on a match doesn't make a difference. So for a category which is say targeting women, to come and be present throughout the 2 months or make at least a threshold presence on the event, are they getting the kind of return for that? I think that is what I was trying to say when I said non-core audience, if that clarifies.
And this women audience growing and over the years?
Yes,
And,
in terms of our data, at least in terms of viewership, yes, they are watching IPL regularly.
And next question from Ashal. Do you think too much repetition of an ad can lead to user fatigue? And what should be the ideal sweet spot for that one?
I would say, yeah, again, Anshu, after you, sorry.
You can please continue. I'll add in if anything.
No, I was looking at it from a very different angle when you say too much repetition of an ad, because we are talking IPL here, and I was trying to say that a brand campaign may be running beyond IPL during that time also, right? So the campaign is encompassing IPL is one part of the campaign. Second, the duration of the tournament. Again, the fact that do I be present only on a few matches, or I at least have a minimum presence. Now, keeping that, and again a media agency could answer it better than me, and in terms of scheduling and presence, I would say the reason for an ad being seen too much remains as it is in terms of basic, rather than being any specific to IPL. So even in a normal way, even if we are not looking at IPL, if an ad runs for a long time, then the kind of impact or the consumer feedback on it that the ad has been running for a long time, or it has been seen too much, applies to IPL. I don't think it is a little different for IPL, is my point of view. Anshu, sorry, you wanted to add anything to that?
No, I think this perfectly sums up. I would only like to add that it depends from campaign to campaign, and the objective what the advertiser essentially wants. Is it a short-term campaign or a long-term campaign, and the end objective, etc. Based on that, essentially the media plan is created. So user fatigue will all depend on what kind of audiences they are targeting and where they have put up the ads. And if you're only talking about specifically IPL, then it's a pretty long event. And if you want to stay relevant, I think advertisers need to be a part of every match. And if they are not in every match, then at least the very important ones. So it's very subjective to answer as a generic question.
And question to Anshu, what is TAM Sports' observation on the categories that use regional language? Is there any trend or any specific one?
Initially, when IPL started, there were very few regional languages that it was aired on, and even the commentary was not specific to that region. However, in the recent times, we've seen that there are, at least on OTT, we are ourselves monitoring 12 languages, and the commentary is also in that specific language. So, any category or advertiser who needs to do a hyperlocal targeting would essentially prefer dividing the media plan between national language and regional languages. There are national advertiser instances where they specifically focus on certain areas and would want to only give ads on that. So that's how geo targeting has been initialized in this event. And not just in this event, now we see it throughout the year. But since we are discussing only specific to a big league event like IPL, categories and advertisers wanting to focus on a particular geography and a particular language audience would essentially do a 70-30 ratio on the media campaign.
One thing what we saw from Anshu's presentation was there's a change in the ad format, especially for IPL. Is this change in ad formats to 10 seconders or a QR code based one or click based one is rubbing off to the other categories or non-IPL ads also? This question to both Anshu and Deepa. So is this rub off of ad format change moving to other domains also?
Yeah. It is changing on an overall level, not just for IPL, but during IPL you essentially see quite a lot of cases and very relevant cases across. But over a period of time, if you see the print ads or TV ads, the ad how the ad is basically playing with the audiences, or rather interacting with the audiences, that has changed. So even print ads have QR codes, and they would want you to go in a specific place, click, or read about it, etc. So ads on an overall level has changed, and Deepa would like to continue on how she looks at this change.
Yeah, no, so like Anshu correctly mentioned, I mean, the formats are changing also because I think it offers a very real-time mechanism to engage with your audience. So, for example, when you do a QR code based, communication, you can instantly see how consumers are engaging with it at that particular point in time. You can, measure the scans, you can measure the clicks, you can measure, how they are, talking about it. So, I think that, feasibility to engage with your consumers at that moment, that makes it even more attractive. And I think going ahead, the ad formats will change even further. It will become more and more innovative.
Deepa, I'll ask you next question to you. What are the key questions that CX seeks to answer before and after the IPL? Is there any questions or any targets that can?
So clearly on the brand, traditionally we would look at, what's the kind of uptick the brand has had in terms of, metrics like awareness, which has been traditionally measured. So what's the kind of, brand lift it has got in terms of awareness, in terms of, consideration. But over time, we have also moved to looking at other metrics like engagement. Specifically, when we do a lot of communication during the matches on social media, what are the kind of comments consumers are leaving about us, what's the kind of shares we are getting, what's the kind of searches which is happening for the brand, or what's the increase in the website visitors. Anshu also mentioned about performance marketing. So, over the years, it has also, what we look at is, post IPL or post Tata IPL in terms of when consumers come up on the website, are they really leaving a lead? So what's the kind of high intent leads we are getting? What's the kind of, conversions from visits to lead? So these are other metrics which of late also we have started measuring apart from the standard metrics on the brand KPIs.
One question from Lalit. With IPL's ad grids now amounting to more than 6,000 crores, how are smaller brands and SMEs leveraging the massive viewership this property provides to compete with large brands? Are there any cost-effective formats for them? Could you please share some data around it? Not sure about the data, but the question is open to all of you. How small brands and SMEs can use or try to advertise in IPL?
So I can start and Sandeep can continue possibly. See, smaller brands have also been seen during IPL, while we had very limited time to showcase any kind of data, and so we restrained it to the top 10, etc. But lately there have been regional brands that are coming up and taking up space in IPL, and IPL has become a kind of a platform for even hyperlocal brands, also with multi-channel viewing. So you have regional OTTs also, and there are teams that belong to specific places who have multiple platforms that are open to smaller brands. So there have been cases where regional cosmetic brands have come on cheerleaders, and there have been local solar players now who have come on player t-shirts. So there are multiple options open, and brands can definitely connect with the respective teams and the authority to have a proposal on this. Beyond this, there is an opportunity to be a part of NFCT. NFCT are very quick to be taken up by for smaller ads, smaller duration ads. So you can also fix up your frequency and campaign length and breadth based on your budget versus what is available through OTT, CTV, and on-ground platforms. And Sandeep, if you would like to add, and Deepa also on this question.
No, I would agree with what Anshu said. The only thing is also in terms of FCT, the mix of live versus pre-post IPL kind of stuff that the brands can use to still have the presence and make their smaller spends effective is what I would say.
Thanks. Sandeep, a small quick question to you from Vinod. Do you measure WPL as well?
It's a separate, yes, it's a separate study where we do a similar one for WPL and we measure it separately, yes.
Thanks, Sandeep. And there are a lot more questions over there, but we are approaching our close time. In fact, approached our close time. I think we need to stop here on the Q&A part of it. Next slide, please, Sandesh. And thank you, Anshu, Karthik, Sandeep, and Deepa for your valuable insights and time. Today's session was insights with learnings about IPL. Dear audience, the recording of this webinar will be available on the MRSI YouTube channel shortly, and we'll try to get back to you on the questions what you have put through email if possible. And thank you all for being the wonderful audience today. Have a good day. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.